Today in Get in the Lab, how many times have you prepped all these questions for your interviewee and you only have 30 minutes to cover them? Well, today we're going all in. I was recently interviewed on the Think Enriched podcast with Amy Robles, and we didn't get to cover all her questions. So today we're going to answer them, including basic video tips, getting Kevin to believe in my business, and the worst date I've been on. More on that in 3, 2, 1. Plato said, "Know thyself." It's not always easy, but it is necessary. This is Get in the Lab. Welcome back to the lab. My name is Megan, and I run small personal experiments to gain big life goals. And then I tell you about it. So thank you for being with me today. I really appreciate it, spending at least 30 minutes with me today here on a back-to-back bonus episode. So like I said, I was recently interviewed by Amy Robles on her podcast, and she had some really great, insightful questions about money and making money and the self-dev that goes behind making money and the changes that I'm doing right now and currently experiencing. And I had a lot of fun, and I would love it if you lab rats go and check that out on her site. The link will be in the description. Show her some love. Thank her for bringing me out of my shell to talk about money, because it's something obviously I've been fearful about talking about, and that fear has translated into, shitty sales over the years of here being and creating online content. And so I would love to be able to dive in deeper into the aspect of the questions that she wanted to ask. That way we can really kind of milk that conversation and help anybody out there who's maybe dealing with sales the way I am, which is something that we discussed in the previous bonus episode with Jeff Kogo, where we talked about scared money don't make money, right? I love this saying, because that fear in your mind, whether you realize it or not, I think is very powerful. It gets underneath your skin, and before you know it, you don't even know that you're thinking scared, right? Which is kind of what I feel I've been experiencing over the past years, and why the sales in my business had not been consistent. And so I know that most of you lab rats out there, maybe you're feeling the same way. So sales is not just about tactics and products and things like that. It's also about having the confidence to sell, right? Having the mentality to ask what you deserve, and to accept that, right? To not lowball yourself, which is something that I've done forever. So if you can relate to that, please, stay tuned for the rest of this episode, as we're going to dive in deep with the help of Amy's questions. Okay, so we're going to talk about money, but first I want to just do a little backstory. Okay, we're drinking a little bit of some red wine today, and that is because I'm celebrating one. I'm very proud of where we have come as a community, lab rats, where I am now in this show, in my position, in my brand. I think that there's been a lot of ups and downs. It's been very confusing at times, but we're here. We're still here, and we're having a good time, and we're surrounded by good people, and more I'm meeting good people and eliminating bad ones. And I think that's really powerful. So I just want to raise a glass to you guys for being here. If you've been here since the beginning, since the Bells and Bounty show, or even Photog Photos, my first photo company that I was making back in the day, like in 2009, when Kevin taught me how to shoot. I want to raise a glass to you guys and say thank you. And I think with this new perspective that I have about myself, which is really cool. It was really brought on by a number of things this year: good people, good friends, super great conferences that make you go, holy shit, what am I doing with my life? Speaking opportunities, mastermind groups, and just good people who show their support by being honest with you, but still being very supportive. And so I want to raise this glass to you guys. Most of you know who you are. And shout out to like the oldest lab rat ever, when we weren't called lab rats before. And we were friends back in like 5th or 6th grade, I believe. Melissa, here's to you, girl. Thanks for sticking around. I really appreciate it. So here's to you guys. Cheers to that. I think getting the lab and being here with you and doing this thing on a weekly basis, it's where I'm meant to be. So let's drink to that. Cheers. Cheers. There you go. Look at that color, huh? Nice color. We're drinking, let me give you a little backstory. We're drinking Leoness Cellars wine. It's a Cinso 2012 from Temecula. And we got this when we went and celebrated one of our friends' birthdays, Nathan, in Temecula. So thank you for introducing me to this winery. We did the whole like little quick backstory, guys. We did the whole like wine tour, and they really educate you. And I first got into wine around 2012 because as a hazmat inspector working for Riverside County, we had to inspect a winery because they use lye and they use all these like other chemicals to make wine. And I thought it was just so fascinating how the most minute details in the soil, in the weather, in the chemical process makes such different wines. And so I thought it was fascinating. And then I discovered Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's the one that really brought wine down to my level, and I could understand, this wine tastes like Dimetapp. I just thought it was so cool. So I really do enjoy wine, and thank you for sharing a glass with me, guys. So let's get into it. Let's get into the questions that Amy has sent over so that we can really flesh this thing out. Okay, so here we go. How does personal development affect your earning potential / bottom line? Girl. It's everything. It's everything. From the moment I first started making my own money online, when I was shooting as Photog Photos. That was my first photo company, Photog Photos, back in 2009-ish, where Kevin taught me how to shoot. He goes, here's aperture, here's shutter speed, here's ISO. Have at it. And my first camera was a 5D Mark I. Fantastic camera to start off with, if I do say so myself. A little spoiled. And my first company was called Photog Photos. And so I may be able to find some old stuff there and throw it up for you right now, but that's what I was doing. And I remember being very, very timid. Very timid, especially when I booked my first photography client. I charged $1,200 for like a 6 to 8 hour wedding, which is nothing. Like that's crazy. That's like the stuff that's like a price that you find on Craigslist, right? Like, this person's not that great, whatever. But I was really scared to charge more than $600. Like, these were big numbers to me. To charge $1,000 something for shooting, like, it didn't make sense to me. I grew up in the world where it was like, you work hourly and you get like $8.25 an hour or whatever that crappy wage is. And I remember that Kevin was telling me at the time, we were like 22 years old or something like that. And he said, making money is easy. And I was like, I was a little mad even. I was like, no, it's not. Like, making money is hard. And I've always thought that like money, I mean, if you come from, it's like reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's kind of like that same mentality where it was like, money's bad. Don't say we're rich, because that's bad. That's evil to think in that way. And so I kind of always grew up in a scarcity mindset. And that's just how I thought. I thought money was supposed to be hard to make, and that it was bad to go to try to make a lot of money or to be rich. I thought that was bad somehow. Like, those words weren't exactly in order in my mind, but it was like money, bad, rich, bad, this selfish, right? That's what was going on in my mind. And I think that's a very hard habit to break if you grow up like that, if you believe that. So to me, it's everything, right? How does personal development affect your earning? If you believe that making money is hard and that rich people are bad and are selfish, then you will not make money. You will not become wealthy. And so I believe that any affluence that you get in your life, be it like having a very, very loving relationship, to having a very rich friendships, all of that stems from your own mind and what you think you deserve. So I used to be in a relationship that was very emotionally and financially abusive. And so I thought that was like that was okay because I loved this person. Which that's ridiculous, right? That's ridiculous now that you think about it. Now that I'm grown up and I'm not an idiot. And it's okay to be an idiot. Like, I own that. It's okay. I'm not like berating myself. That was an idiotic, moronic, sophomoric thing to think that that's okay for somebody to do that to you. So it all starts within your mind where you go, what do I deserve? I deserve respect. I deserve others to respect me and my time and my worth, and I will not settle for anything less. And so for me, I've always known this, but it's just executing on it, right? In real life, when you're on when you know, a deal is being made on the table. So to me, it's everything. It's everything. To answer your question very, very long-windedly. Okay, next question. Personal development is inward. Making money is outward. Where does sales fit in there? Or better said, what have you learned about sales through this entire process? It's kind of like I said, like my friend says, scared money don't make money. And so everything that I want to make happen outside of myself, I have to first start within here, within my heart and in my head and what I believe, and in my, in my core being, I have to believe it. And when you can do that, you can make some crazy shit happen. Believe me, it's weird. It's so weird. Being in a shitty relationship is going to be my example. Okay. So being in a shitty relationship where you think you believe and you think you are in a loving relationship when it's not, right? So I can akin this to being like, I can call myself an entrepreneur, but I'm not making money. For the relationship, when I finally started to realize that this relationship is not good, is not healthy, right? And I started to believe finally and tell myself I deserve better, right? I deserve nothing less than what I want, than what I exactly want in somebody else as a partner. Nothing less, right? Until I started to believe that, I was going to keep, in this pit of a loveless relationship. But crazy, I wrote all that stuff down, who I want, how I want them to treat me. Right? Not a list of like, he has to be 6'1" or he has to be handsome. Screw that. I wanted the real deal, right? I wrote it all down. And this is a story that I share seldomly now, but I used to share it a lot, which is before I met Kevin, I wrote all this stuff down and what I wanted in a partner. And lo and behold, like when I really believed this list that I wrote down, and I think it was crazy because another bride of ours, when we were shooting weddings, has the same story. She goes, I wrote everything down. And then a couple months later, like, I met him. That's my story too. I wrote all these things down. I can't find that piece of paper, but that is how I believe that I came into the presence of my partner who I'm with today, which is Kevin. And he was all of these things, but more, because I would not, because now you're on this different frequency, right? Now, when you start to believe that you are worth this thing, right? You're like, I want this and nothing else. And I deserve that, right? I deserve to be loved in this way. Like, you stop seeing all of the shitty people. and if they do come at you, right? If they do enter your world, you don't even give them a time of day, because you're on this different frequency. You're on this different level. And I think it's kind of the same thing with sales. Like currently now that I understand my worth as somebody who can provide certain services within video, within photo and stuff like that, I don't negotiate anymore because I know what I'm worth, right? So that's how sales fits in there. It starts in here with believing in what you're worth, knowing your worth. I talked about this in episode number 11, knowing your worth. Jeff calls it knowing your numbers, knowing your worst case scenario. There's nothing to fear because you know the worst case scenario, and you're not going to go lower than that, right? So I've learned that everything, even sales, the way that I believe that I manifested the relationship that I'm in today and maintain it and check and balance it is with my mind, is with the inner development that I have in here. And it can change everything outside of me, but I have to start within. So that's what I've learned. Okay. Number 3, third question. I've heard you use the term empathizing in selling. Tell me more. Empathizing in selling. I'm seriously drawing a blank. Let me rejuvenate my brain. Girl, I don't know. So leave me in the comments what you mean. I don't know where I said that. Please point it out to me. Maybe I misspoke. Maybe a lot of shit comes out here. Okay, sorry. Question number 4. If you could go back to that poor relationship, letting others take advantage of you to the point that you didn't ever have to have a bankruptcy, would you? Why or why not? No, I wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't take back anything in my life because I needed to learn that lesson. You know what I'm saying? I'm a firm believer in like nothing in life should be that easy because we as humans need contrast. Unfortunately, that's just kind of how we are. We don't miss somebody until they're gone. We don't appreciate something until it's gone. You know, we practice a lot of emergent medicine, reactive medicine versus preventative medicine. I think that's just a very human thing. We like to, we like to have shortcuts, right? But the reason why I'm here, the reason why I'm in the relationship that I'm in, which you'll get me emotional. I'm so thankful for Kevin and what we have and the journey that we've been on, because without that bankruptcy on my record to remind me, don't settle for anything less than what you deserve, and to take that even further, know what you're worth, because sometimes you think you deserve something, right? Like this bankruptcy. I had gotten to this relationship that had taken advantage of my credit. And as a sort of like penance, I was like, I tried to pay this debt off that wasn't mine for a long time, for a good year. And it was over $20,000. And I tried to pay it off because I said, I let this person take advantage of me. So this is like my penance. This is like my punishment, you know. And I remember being here in this room before all of this, and I was looking at an Amex bill, and it was like kind of the last straw, and it was like $1,000 something, and it was like overdue, and bill collectors were calling me, and I was like 22 years old. And then I was reading it, and I was crying. And Kevin came in, and he came in, and he didn't know what was going on. And I hadn't told him about this yet. He just hugged me. And in that moment, I had this situation where I had gotten myself into trouble, and I was trying to fix it by myself. I was working full time. I was going to school full time and having all my money go to this bill that wasn't mine. Well, it's kind of mine, right? Because I let this person take advantage of me. So now I always remember that moment, not as a moment of victimization, but a moment of lessons learned. Lessons learned, you know. I had to go through so much introspective therapy by myself. A lot of it like commuting in the car, singing to Usher songs, making content, writing about it. I wrote like 3 books about this because it's like, to self-therapy, that thing. And I wouldn't take that back for the world, because that is why I am here. I had such a hard lesson in life, and I have to say thank you to this person who took advantage of me, because I needed to wake up. Otherwise, I was drifting in a lot of areas in my life, letting people, family members, parents, friends, insert their will over mine, and losing my voice, right? And so I own that. I own that failure. I used to see that as my biggest failure, and a bankruptcy just sounds so terrible, doesn't it? And even that relationship, which we won't discuss here, was not very good as well, right? So I used to wear those so prominently as my punishment, or a letter A, and I would punish myself for that because I let that person walk all over me. Now it's my moment where that is my bottom, that is my rock bottom, those times. And it reminds me that there's so much more in the world to be thankful for. If that's my rock bottom, which wasn't really the end of the world, that person who did that to me, it wasn't a one-way street, it was a two-way street. So I did that to me as well. And so when I learned to accept that, and I learned to forgive him, and more importantly, forgive myself, because I think that's harder. For one thing, it's one thing to to forgive somebody who did something terrible to you, and even that's very difficult, right? There was a physiological thing that would happen to me. I would get hot and sick. I would feel sick just thinking about this person. But I was able to let that go. But to be able to forgive yourself because you realized, holy shit, I let that person just do whatever they want. I let many other people do whatever they want. That's much harder. And I think that goes on daily, because I see it coming back, this sort of passive and timid, easy behavior that I have and habit that I have with this relationship with me and what I deserve. It shows up in the money that I make, right? So there's the fact that I'm not making consistent money. That's another indication to me that I have not yet fully gone through forgiving myself for that instance of mishandling my money and mishandling my place in that relationship. But now, seriously, Amy, I'm feeling lighter than ever, at which things are incredibly more possible for me to attain, and that I'm here where I wanted to be. I've arrived. That's what I feel like. And it feels good. So, yeah, totally wouldn't take that back. I own that. That is a big reason why I'm here. That struggle, that hard, that's why I'm here for sure. Okay, so we're going to take a break, and we're going to hear a few words from our sponsors in just a second, and we'll be right back. Nope. If you're like me, you're using books to get ahead and get a real education on your life. And that's what I do. Except I can't read physical books. They bore me to tears. They put me to sleep. And you know what? They don't make me productive. So if I ever want to go to sleep, I'll read a physical book. But if I want to get shit done, if I want to make stuff happen in my life with the books that I'm reading, I'm going to listen to it. And you can too. If you go to audibletrial.com/getinalab, you can get a free audiobook of your choice. They have over 150,000 titles to choose from. So, no more falling asleep on your books. Listen to them instead. Hey, when we're back, always fun to have a little fun with the sponsor role. What do you call those? I don't even know. All right, so let's get back into the questions. Question number 5: how did you get Kevin to believe in your vision of your business? What would you say to someone, especially a mama at home with the kids, that wants to earn money but her spouse does not want to spend money to start any sort of business model? Okay. 2 questions in there. Okay. This is a good one. Good questions, Amy. Okay. So how did you get Kevin to believe in your vision of your business? I made many videos about this in the past. But if I could sum it up here, I showed him. I showed him that I was someone to believe in. So before, when he didn't believe in what I was doing, is because I was putting off, I did not yet believe in myself. And it was translating to how I was presenting what I was doing on the outside. So on the outside looking in, for him looking in on me and going, what are you doing? Right? Like, what is that? And I was, not owning it, not being confident about what I'm doing. That's not reassuring. It's like if you approach an investor and you say, can you please invest in my company? I'm pretty sure this is gonna work. I'm pretty sure. Or it's like, is this gonna work? And you're like, I don't know. That's what I used to say to Kevin. That's probably how it felt, right, for him. And so I totally understand that. And so now we kind of go back and forth, more so always kind of falling back on him supporting what I do. I don't think he's ever going to fully 100% understand what I do because he's not in this field. He doesn't do this sort of thing. He comes from the traditional business model, service-based, time for dollars sort of thing, not creating content the way that I do, right? So I don't think he's ever going to truly understand. He's like at 95% though. Seriously, he's like at 95%. And I'm very, very proud and grateful that he's even at that point. But I have to I have to come back and I have to credit myself because I made that possible. So here's what I did. In order for Kevin to believe in me, I had to show him I was worth believing in. I was worth it. And so I had to sell him. So my issue with sales kind of goes back to even just my relationship with Kevin, right? If I couldn't sell my partner on what I was doing, that was a big deal. It's like, I need my partner to understand what I'm doing. How can I do that? I had to learn how to speak his language, right? So of course, when you are doing your own thing, everything makes sense to you. You're dreaming big, hairy dreams. It makes sense. You're going to do it. And now you're like, okay, how do I communicate this to my loved ones and tell them like this shit takes time and I'm going to have to be like doing things on social media that maybe they're not doing or not familiar with, or it seems a bit, too pushy or aggressive or whatever the thing is, right? But that was my test, It's like that was like part of the training of what it takes, because I'm not a natural salesman, what it takes to learn sales. And the very first test was one having the confidence to believe in yourself and believing in what you're selling with you, right? That's the first relationship you're in. The second one, which is you and your significant other, and getting them to be on board. Maybe they're not on board 100%. Some spouses, they're 100%. Like they're like, go do it. Here's some money, all that stuff. I didn't have that. He's very, very reluctant before to invest in what I was doing. Now he's like, what do you need? I'll cover you. It's no problem. Now I can cover myself. But before, it was like, why? Right? And I almost felt insulted that I had to explain it, but that was stupid. You can't feel insulted when somebody asks you to explain why you're doing what you do, right? That was just support me because I'm your wife kind of thing, right? But you can't expect that because they're their own person. They're entitled to their own fears, their own beliefs, and you need to respect that as their partner, right? And so, like I said, understanding how he processes information and how he can get on board with things, because you know that person better than anybody else, or you should, in some way or another. You know that person, your partner, better than anybody else, so you should know how to speak their language. And so using that knowledge, you do that and you sell your business that way so that you can gain the support that you want. And you know what? You can even do the thing that I did, which was, and we were kind of butting heads. There was a moment where we were talking about support, and we were kind of butting heads. We weren't on the same page, and there was a moment where I broke a little bit, and I said, maybe I should just focus on the photography thing, where that makes money, and I should just focus on that because that makes money, and my thing is not. It hasn't taken off yet. And when I said that, and he kind of felt guilty. And he was like, okay, I want to support you, but I don't know how, and it's hard for me to support you because we need money, right? I need you to support me in that way. And there was a moment where I almost caved in, but I had been practicing this sort of self-awareness, this self-dev for such a long time that thankfully I was able to snap myself out of it and say, no way. You may not believe in me. Maybe you're 95% right now. That's fine. I don't need you to be 100%. You know why? Because there's plenty of people out there who I made friends with who support me 150%. So I don't need that. That's okay. It's okay that you're not here yet. I'll show you. And it was so crazy because I was mad at that moment, but not mad at him. I was mad that I had let myself almost break, but I came back. And that actually impressed him. And he was like, okay. and then he kind of we let that marinate for a bit. And he came back and he was like, you know what? I want to be here for you. I want to be here 100%. And maybe I'm not always going to understand what you're doing, but you have it. I'm here. I'm 100%. I'm here. I'm with you. I want to be on your, I want to support you. And then I was crying, super crying. But then, it goes to show you that you need to show and assert yourself for what you want in your life. Sometimes, it feels very one-sided or the battle feels lost because you're not making money in your relationship. And that's a big deal, right? If you're not the breadwinner, it makes you feel like you don't have a say, but that's not true. And you always need to make that clear in your relationship. And I'm so grateful that that's not how Kevin sees me. He doesn't see me, my say doesn't depend on how much money I make, right? So thank goodness. What would you say to someone, especially a mama at home with kids that wants to earn money, but her spouse does not want to spend? Okay, so there are many business models that start off like free business models, right? They start off free. And it's up to you to find out what they are. How can I make money that doesn't require a lot of capital? That's what I did. You can straight up sell your skills as a service or consult, like right now. You could do that. All right. So when was the moment you knew that he believed in your business idea and vision? It was probably very recently, where I was just telling you guys that conversation I was having with him, where it was like, I'm going to show you. It's okay that you're not here, 100% that I need you to be. I would like you to be, but I understand that takes time, and I need to prove to you that this is a viable business with revenue. And so that's okay. It's okay. And the moment I said to him that it was okay, I created a space that it was safe to not get it right away, and it was okay with me. Would I have loved it if he could be on board 100% all the time and just be like my number one supporter? He is my number one supporter. He has made that very clear. But there are just certain things that I can't get from him that I need to do what I need to do effectively. And that's up to me to find mastermind groups and friends that really get what I'm doing, and we're on the same page of creating content. And at the same time, he allows me to do what I do because we have this other business that supports us financially. So I think it was in that moment, that was like this year, right? So that was pretty recent, because there had been many other times where I thought he would get it and all of this stuff, but I still had not said my piece on the thing. So it wasn't about him. It was about me. So in order for you to gain what you want out of somebody, sometimes it's not everything that is like, it's not like an obvious way of support. Sometimes it's a different way of support. And you have to be understanding of that, and you have to be patient of that, with your partner. I think it's really, really important that it's okay to not always be perfect. It's not perfect. And that's why we communicate, to make sure that we both don't feel like we're being unheard, or that we're getting the short end of the stick, So I think there's always going to be moments like this where I have to assert who I am, as long as as long as there is a discrepancy in revenue. I think that's just going to happen. It doesn't go, I don't think it's any more than anything deeper than that, because we've already discussed that for us. But we're human, we all want to feel like we're being appreciated, and but we all want to feel like we're doing stuff that matters and that brings us purpose and that makes us happy. So but yeah, I think that moment right there was really, really a game changer for us in our relationship, and how we talk about money and how we communicate about money. So yeah. All right, next question. For someone just learning the very basics of creating video to share their message slash business, what tips would you give them? First, I would get clarity on what you want to do with video. Okay, so be very, very real with your expectations, your capacity to learn new things, if you want to learn the very basics, that's still very, very general. Like, what do you mean by basics? Like, obviously I could give you basics on how to use a DSLR, or basics on how to shoot with your phone. There are basic things. I still see people shooting vertical and then putting it on YouTube. I would first and foremost get your goals straight, get clarity, right, on what you want to do with video. See the examples that are out there. I put out a ton of examples on how I use video. If that's something that you want to do, then use me as a model. Okay. And there's, you've got to do some digging and some research on your end. And I put out a lot of content. There's a lot there for you to dig through. And if anything, ask straight up, ask for that one-on-one. That's something that I now offer. It's video consultation, but there's plenty of stuff that you can get from me for free that I've put out in the show or on my YouTube channel. And I always give like 30 minutes free consultation before anybody hires me on, so that we kind of get clear on what your expectations or goals are with video. Okay. So first tip, get clarity. Yeah. I can't even give you tips on like gear or stuff like that, because if I don't know your goals, your threshold, it's hard. It's hard to give you a tip on that. So I would first get clarity on how you want to use video. Get really specific, because you can go vlog video, you can go cinematic, you can go video podcast. Like there's so many things that you could do with video. So get clear on your goals with video. Question number whatever. How do you think introverts can be even more successful than extroverts in business? I think a lot of very, very crazy successful business people are introverts. We have like this kind of cool secret power. I have a secret performer within me. And this is something that I shared with you, Amy, that I literally like have a little switch performer, actor in me that loves to come out every once in a while. And it's awesome because I can do it in front of a camera pretty easily where people go, oh, you're a natural. But it's much, much harder for me to do it in real person. But introverts, I mean, I can only speak for myself really, but like I want to be, I want to kind of live the life of an extrovert for a time, like in front of the camera. And when I do this show, or when I go to an event or a conference, I want to be that fun-loving, cool cat that people like to be around, and that, and I help them and they help me, and it's good times, and we have a good time, and it's a lot of laughing. Like, I want that. So if you want that enough, what's going on here? If you want that enough, and you're an introvert and you're bad at your people skills, then work on it. So how I worked on it was, I've shared this before as well, which I would talk to myself in my car. I had to commute a lot, when I was younger, and, I would use that time to seriously, embarrassingly, like practice how to talk to people and not be stuttering and not have this weird rise in my voice that I used to get. Now it's very grounded. If you were to listen to my content a couple of years ago, it was very high, very nervous, very in my head. Now I feel it's more grounded in my throat. So it is coming down, but I want it to be kind of coming from my stomach. So I work on it. I practice. So if you want to be more successful and you're an introvert, then you need to work on your people skills. And vlogging is a great way to do that. Podcasting is a great way to do that. Creating content, writing, just getting outside of yourself, right? Getting outside of your head, because you think too much in your head. You need to get out of it. You need to express. Okay. And lastly, the black box question we missed. What is the worst date you've been on? Worst date? I didn't date very much when I was young. I always was in like relationships. That's hard because I didn't really date. I'm not a dating person. But one that's coming up where I guess it was kind of a date, which was my 21st birthday. And this person took me to a bar that was really sleazy, and it felt like an obligation. It didn't feel good. And then I drank like 2 adioses, and then I just passed out. That was it. I was like, okay, yay. But yeah, anyway, so there's my Q's to your A's. That was a lot of fun answering those questions. I had to like dig deep to answer them, and I love that because that's what this show is all about. It's about self-dev, and it's scary to go there sometimes, but And even telling you guys these stories, it still brings up a little like, how do I say this in a way at which, you know, it matches what's going on in my brain? I talked about this in episode 11, where it's like, I have this thing that I want to say, and sometimes it doesn't always match what comes out on the mic or on camera. And I'm sure you lab rats can relate to that. It's like, I planned that out so much better. I had imagined it so much better. And then when I executed it, it was like, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. So hopefully my answers weren't too crazy, and hopefully they make sense. I really tried to think about what I was saying. But you know, I'm always learning, I'm always practicing, and I'm really thankful that you are here. So thank you for asking your questions, Amy. I hope that it brought your audience a little bit more insight into those topics that you were asking, and thank you for asking them. So good things, guys. Once again, my name is Megan, reminding you to get in the lab. We'll see you. Peace.